You lost the moment you set foot in here. The moment you stood against...
Lex Luthor first appeared in Action Comics issue number 23 on February 22, 1940, and was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. He earned the title of Superman's archnemesis and is a man of the highest IQ, which he uses to fight aliens he considers a menace to society. His maniacal approach and focus on aliens often make him cross paths with a Man of Steel. Is he a mad scientist, a wealthy industrialist, or a politician who ran for president? Writers have had a field day writing for this multifaceted character. Lex Luthor will always remain DC Comics' most memorable villain. Here's an in-depth look at this masterpiece of a villain called Lex Luthor. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Lex Luthor? How did he become Superman's #1 villain? Lionel Luthor and Letitia Luthor birthed Lex Luthor, a rich local of Metropolis. It's said that Lionel wasn't very popular in Smallville. Hence, he took out his frustration on his introverted son, Lex, who stayed in Smallville as a teenager with his Aunt Lena, where he meets Clark Kent and develops jealousy towards Superman. While in Smallville, Lionel is saved from several near-death situations thanks to Superboy. That was the only association Superboy had with the family back then. Later, when Lionel died due to a heart condition that got worse due to an allergic reaction to a medication, Lex took all the insurance money made earlier in his father's name and escaped. Not much is known as to what happened later. In the Silver Age, though, we get a better clarity of Lex's origin. Luthor grew up in Smallville, where he moved to stay close to his hometown's hero, Superboy. Lex, like any fan, would enthusiastically follow Superboy's adventures, and day by day, he got intensely impressed by the young Kryptonian. Lex belonged to a farmer's family, but didn't have the values of a farmer. One day, while out plowing the field, he noticed his favorite hero limping and discovered Superboy's proximity to the dangerous green kryptonite. In reflex, Luthor immediately grabbed the stone and hurled it far away from Superboy. Grateful for the help, Superboy accompanied Lex to see his workshop, which was like an art gallery holding all the various figurines of Superboy, a fan museum documenting every feat the Boy of Steel had ever achieved. In gratitude, Superboy built a new, modern lab for his young fan friend, who had shown a terrific inclination towards becoming a scientist. Excited by his new lab, Lex started working on several experiments that used many chemical solutions. He excelled in his experiments and created a non-living protoplasmic being from the rare chemicals Superboy had procured for him. Seeing his success of his scientific achievements, Lex got the confidence to use the know-how of protoplasm he had created to prepare an antidote that would cure anyone from kryptonite poisoning. Lex was doing this experiment for his hero, Superboy, hoping to gift him the antidote to cement their friendship. His hard work pays off, and Lex succeeds in making the antidote. But in his ecstatic state, he bumps off one of the apparatuses, leading to an enormous fire in the lab. As the smoke billows out of the lab, Superboy, flying past, sees the fire. He dives in, but since kryptonite lay exposed due to Lex's oversight, he stands outside and extinguishes the fire with a gust of his super breath that also pushes away the kryptonite to a safe distance. While the fire was doused, Lex lost all his experiments due to the massive chemical mix-up, leading to a slew of poisonous gases. These gases swoosh past Lex's head, rendering him permanently bald. With his hair gone, everything had changed, especially his equation with Superboy, who he thought was responsible for destroying the lab. He accused Superboy of being overcome with jealousy due to Lex's success, and from that day onward, Lex became Superboy's sworn enemy. Does Lex Luthor have any superpowers? Lex is a human being, not a superhero, but his intelligence was a superpower. High IQ was one of Lex's most important traits, but unfortunately, he used his brains to satisfy his ulterior motives, and further, his revenge against Superman and all those he thought had wronged him. He had turned into a sociopath, and in every avatar of his in the world of comics, either as a scientist, a businessman, or the President of the United States, Lex is the generous human who uses his privileges to help humanity, except he keeps all his negative energy reserved for that one man he hates and feels belittled by, Superman. Despite not being blessed by any superpowers, Lex had come close to destroying the Man of Steel many times more than many of Superman's enemies. Each time, Lex's schematic mind missed defeating Superman only by a whisker, since, unluckily for Lex, his mighty ego was the reason for his downfall. How intelligent is Lex Luthor? He's the smartest of the entire villain universe. He boasts an IQ of 225, and if compared to Mr. Terrific, Batman, Brainiac, and even Albert Einstein, Lex is only a few points lower than Mr. Terrific and higher than the rest. Imagine that. To get the levels right, the IQ comparison table universally says that anyone with a score higher than 140 is a genius, and anyone over 170 is extraordinarily genius. So you can imagine where Lex stands IQ-wise. What does an IQ of 225 mean? I would think his brain has an extraordinary ability to analyze complex information. His memory must be eidetic. His brain naturally possesses all the qualities to easily solve engineering and scientific experiments in a jiffy. To sum it up, Lex's high IQ, coupled with his outstanding knowledge of technology, makes him the most dangerous villain around. Despite having no significant superpowers, Lex's abilities qualified him to be a superhuman. Consider this: his processing speed is as good as a supercomputer that analyzes data and statistics, all of which seems to be child's play to him. He uses this with precision during combat. Due to his high memory, he studies the combative skill patterns of his enemies that they used in the past and what their outcomes would be, which gives him leverage in strategizing against them. He can customize his attacks by creating weapons depending on his enemy's weaknesses. He knows what Superman's weakness is and knows how to exploit it. Lex's IQ grants him an edge over his opponents, making him almost invincible. I'm nearly tempted to say that no one will have to tell Lex, "Don't be an idiot," because he's so good at planning that he can take on Superman, which in my opinion is a battle of brain versus brawn. Compared to Lex's IQ, Superman's IQ is that of a normal human. At the same time, Superman is bestowed with superhero powers such as flight, heat vision, freeze breath, healing, and superhuman strength. Yet Lex's brain tears into all his powers. Lex can sense a threat, and he knows exactly how to get to him because he has studied Superman so closely since his boyhood days. Even if I believed that Lex would drop dead by a single punch from Superman, his mind would alert him way before dodging the punch. It's impossible to think, yet it makes sense. You can't underestimate Lex. Period. How physically fit is Lex Luthor? Some say he stands tall at 6'2" and weighs 210 pounds, with armor around 585 pounds, implying he's a fit man who is strong enough to wear armor and fight. Lex's initial appearances were lean and mean. Then came a plumper version of him. His modern-age portrayal makes him seem like he's in shape, but not a pumped-up muscular dude. After that, and around the time of Reeves, he was just a normal dude in build. In the series Kingdom Come, he looked like a kingmaker and distinguished, which was justified since he was stepping into the early 60s. What is Lex Luthor's Warsuit made of? And what were its features? Lex's armor was one of the most talked about in his fight against Superman. He used both psychological and combative skills. His iconic armor is a powered exosuit made from advanced Earth and alien technology. It consists of alien alloy, lead shielding, kryptonite, and high-energy output. Pre-crisis. Lex's Warsuit was made by one of the scientists who was a resident of Lex's adopted planet, Lexor. His name was Ukru. Lex's every appearance in the suit included an upgrade. The main function of the Warsuit was to shoot a beam at Superman that would engulf him in a molecular sheath, stopping sunrays from reaching him, thereby paralyzing the hero's ability to recharge his superpowers. The beam was so agonizing, Superman rated it as the worst ever. The features of the Warsuit included telekinesis and deflection that could not just lift heavy weights, but boomerang bullets, punches, and any form attack back to the attacker with 10 times more impact. Hypnotism that could set off the victim into a trance and enslave the victim to obey the hypnotic's orders. The power of illusion drove Superman nearly insane with all the hallucination created by Lex. Dematerialization of the Warsuit could happen in a jiffy. The red sun radiation feature in the suit engulfed Superman in its red solar radiation and rendered him powerless. With the Warsuit on, the wearer could even survive the vacuum of space. The suit had the ability to cage a person in a two-dimensional form. The Warsuit could also function as a lie detector for its enemy. The suit had the ability to conduct scientific analysis. The suit was tamper-proof and hack-proof, allowing only Lex to operate it. The suit was fitted with micro-cameras and receivers that could relay anything and everything seen or heard, enabling Lex to communicate from inside the suit. Post-crisis, the Warsuit underwent more upgrades, including the first, a sample used by Lex's guards who guarded the Lex Tower. The wearer of the suit was driven to insanity due to prolonged use. Its features were an electric blaster that shot electrical energy from the suit with a psionic interface to include paranormal sensations. The second one was built by apocalyptic technology, like a furnace of death with few side effects. Lex very skillfully equipped the Warsuit with various kryptonites to attack the weakest point of Kryptonians, such as Superman. This is how Lex managed to match himself up to Superman in combat. The suit was also armed with gauntlets and rings that allowed even Lex's fingers to shoot out kryptonic energy blasts. Green kryptonic, red kryptonic, and blue and black kryptonic energy. The suit had an energy blade placed in the right gauntlet that shot kryptonic plasma. The suit's right arm was lined with kryptonic spikes. Lex carried a kryptonic spear or blade for combat. Can Lex Luthor's suit hurt Superman? Yes, the suit equipped with kryptonite and heavy firepower can temporarily injure or delay Superman. Also, because Lex relentlessly worked on upgrading the Warsuit till it became invulnerable. If not for defeating Superman, Lex could render him ineffective. Lex's armor became more sophisticated with each upgrade, including a radio-telepathic interface that could operate in Lex's absence and be controlled by Lex's mind. It was like a giant robot operating with the effect of 50-caliber guns, short-range missiles, and flamethrowers. It left him exhausted due to the impact. Lex used his company, LexCorp Satellite Link-Up, that could cull out and manipulate computation and communication to intervene in Professor Veritas's technology. Lex had reached the source of Superman's scientific prowess, that is, Professor Veritas. The internal force field in the Warsuit could protect the wearer from inside, wherein Lex could reuse the mantelpieces and repurpose them into a spatial cutting blade that could cut through even Superman's dense flesh. The suit could also detach its limbs that was agile enough to corner a weakened Superman. Any part of the suit attacked could reveal hidden weapons. The killer feature was LexCorp Satellite Link-Up, an advanced satellite in Jupiter's asteroid that could hack into classified government information by hacking their systems. Computers. Has Lex used kryptonite outside the suit? Besides the gauntlets and the fingers equipped with kryptonite blasters, Lex even used Metallo, the cyborg whose survival depended on green kryptonite, and wore it like a heart on his chest. Metallo could kill Superman just by sheer exposure to green kryptonite. Is Lex Luthor a capable hand-to-hand fighter? As mentioned, Lex's Warsuit allows detachable limbs that retain hydraulic and electrical power to combat Superman. In short, Lex could hold his ground on his own if needed. The Warsuit factored in all the weaknesses that could have helped Lex in combat. How does Lex Luthor view Superman? He views Superman as an extraterrestrial outsider, a hindrance to human progress, and a representation of unmerited authority. Lex's view about Superman is partially due to a personal vendetta and partly due to ideological differences. Lex hates Superman's powers, which downgrade Lex's narcissistic self. He hates that Superman appears every time during a crisis, like some self-designated savior. Lex also nursed revenge against Superman right from his boyhood days after the mishap in his lab. Lex hated that, and with someone as powerful as Lex, why should humans look for an alien to save them? Has Lex Luthor ever become president? Yes, Lex became president with his success and intelligence in a bid to control the Fourth Estate. Lex becoming president was again an attempt to oust Superman's influence on the world. He started by buying off the Daily Planet and selling it to Perry White so that he could control the narrative and say things he wanted, such as maligning Superman. He used the media to manipulate the public and change their opinions about Superman. Despite holding the most powerful office in the world, he didn't succeed. How powerful is LexCorp? The creation of the Warsuit is a living example of LexCorp's power and technological expertise. Is Lex Luthor smarter than Batman? IQ-wise, Lex is far more intelligent than Batman, but this depends on the storyteller as to how the writer wants to depict them. In many stories, they have come across as equals, if not better. What is Apex Lex? While Lex has always been portrayed as an evil being out to get Superman, in the post-Flashpoint world, when Lex Luthor won a few wars to save humanity, including creating the Amazo virus as a cure for a global pandemic, or the win over Batman by hacking his defenses, something dawned upon him. He realized that the only thing organic in the universe is entropy, so he aligned himself with Perpetua, who is the creator of the multiverse and mother to the Anti-Monitor, the Monitor, and the World Forger. After Perpetua revolted against Source and lost the battle against Source and her sons, who turned snitches, she was imprisoned. Perpetua was freed with a new servant named Lex after the crisis that destroyed existence. Lex served her by giving up his human form and becoming Apex Lex, a Martian hybrid of a human. Perpetua bestowed Apex Lex with the power to defeat the Justice League so that she could recreate the multiverse. Here, Lex merged with the Martian Manhunter and transformed the Martian's powers into himself, becoming Apex Lex, general of the Apex Predators, an army that Perpetua would need in her quest. But Apex Lex forgot one thing. Perpetua had said the dark multiverse wasn't conducive to her pursuit, yet he falls into the trap and captures the Batman Who Laughs, a source of the dark multiverse. Enraged, Perpetua strips Lex of his powers and converts him into a human. After this, Lex goes into hiding, planning his revenge against Perpetua. Has Lex Luthor ever outsmarted Superman without using violence? Lex Luthor has manipulated the situation, swayed public opinion against him, and used legal strategies to achieve his goals. In Adventures of Superman issue number 15, Lex Luthor shook people's faith in Superman by planting multiple disasters simultaneously. Lex wanted to prove to the people that Superman wasn't omnipresent, and even if he could shake the faith in one human, it would mean victory in this issue. Lex first causes a tank to break into the National Bank, and when Superman arrives to help, a bomb goes off nearby, forcing Superman to rush there to save people. While he was at it, a boy named Mike was on the rail tracks about to be hit by a train. Would he be able to save all of them? The answer is no, but he manages somehow. How is Lex Luthor portrayed in the DC animated universe, the DCAU? Cold and brilliant are two words to describe his presence in the DC animated universe. He faked being reformed by helping the Justice League beat the Justice Lords and also save humanity from a global pandemic, as mentioned earlier. It was all done to gain a presidential seat. What's Lex's most iconic psychological trait? Ego. He's a narcissist and believes he alone is enough to save humanity. The world doesn't need superheroes, especially Superman. It was his narcissism that drove his purpose of destroying Superman. One issue I remember was when Superman was declared dead right after the events of the Darkseid War. Hearing the news, Luthor immediately got an armor designed for himself that had the Superman shield simply because he felt the need to step up. Luthor wanted to fill in for Clark Kent and give the world a new Superman. His intention and act, although they felt unselfish, reeked of self-lauding. Unfortunately for him, Superman did return, but Luthor wasn't ready to make peace with his childhood idol. Lex immediately dumped the suit and the shield and went back to his evil ways. This was also the time Lex drifted towards Perpetua, allowing her to recreate the multiverse. Does Lex Luthor ever believe he's the hero? Yes. I think he's constantly in denial that he's a mere mortal, which also works to his advantage in achieving the impossible of saving humanity and defeating Superman. Marvelous verdict. I've always considered Lex Luthor to be a character who holds a mirror to superhero fanatics like me, constantly trying to prove that the world doesn't need superheroes to save the world. Humans are enough. I agree with believing in myself, but the creators of Lex gave him a flaw. Instead of saying, "we humans are enough," he said, "I will save you and not Superman." This slight tweaking stopped Lex Luthor from becoming a hero, if not a superhero. In the real world, a superhero is God, and whether he performs like Superman or Iron Man, that belief rests with us. On that note, I'll take my leave. Until next time. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.